right, I think we're ready to go. My name is Erica Carnevale. I want to welcome everyone to today's webinar. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. If you can just confirm that you are muted, if you're not a presenter, we will have a Q&A later in the session where you'll be able to come off mute and ask questions. I want to thank our presenters for joining us today. As COVID has kind of limited the opportunities for in-person connection, Volpara has been trying to facilitate more best practice sharing among screening programs at this time. And today we're fortunate enough to have representation from Avera and ProMedica's breast centers to share their experiences with optimizing the MQSA equipped process. Our host today for the dialogue is Jennifer Cantu, who is a clinical specialist at Volpara. Some of you may work with her closely, but Jen helps our customers understand how Volpara software can help make this process easier. And additionally, prior to joining Volpara, she managed the breast center at the Oregon Imaging Center, where she was in many of your shoes implementing Equip. So she's a great person to lead this discussion. I did want to let everyone know, as you may see on the team screen, we are recording this session so that we can follow up with you after the session and give you a link to the recording so that you can share with any of your peers or revisit the information. So today's webinar is going to be focused on the topics that you see here and will very much be a dialogue. If you've attended any of our webinars in the past, they're more of a conversation between our host and the panelists versus death by PowerPoint. And we will have a Q&A at the end where you're welcome to unmute and ask questions. You can also use the meeting chat to submit questions in advance. So feel free to do that. We'll collect those and can answer them towards the end of the session. So let's get started. I'm going to hand it over to Jen. Why don't you introduce yourself and your viewpoint on Equip?
Thank you, Erica. I am Jennifer Cantu, part of the customer success team with Volpara. As Erica stated, before joining Volpara, I managed a breast center in Oregon. And currently, I work with customers using Volpara Analytics to help make their Equip process more efficient, as well as providing their team technologist support with quality improvement for positioning and compression. So my viewpoint on Equip is that it is a step forward into this continuous quality review process for all breast centers. And it's rooted in good intentions of quality and increased cancer detection. But with this being said, it can be vague and time consuming, especially if your process is manual. So 3 easy steps, right? Or is this more like hundreds of hours of work that can take away from patient care and other operational tasks that are, usually pulled from that QA or lead tech? And we're going to get some great insight today on how more prepared and efficient from our panelists. So let's meet our panelists today. So from Avera Health, I'd like to introduce Rhonda Ingwertsen, the Breast Health Quality Manager for Avera. And I have had the pleasure of working with Rhonda for the past year and a half and really appreciate her insight and ideas and making processes more efficient. Her feedback really drives improvement in our products, and I'm incredibly excited to see the Volpara platform come together for her and her team. So Rhonda, could you tell us about Avera's approach to breast imaging and your role as quality manager?
Hello, good afternoon. Like Jennifer said, my name is Rhonda Ingwertsen. I am the quality manager here at the Avera Breast Center in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Our approach to mammography breast imaging here at the Avera Breast Center in Sioux Falls, where I'm at, we are currently the diagnostic hub for our screening sites. So we have currently about 4 in-house, four and a half in-house sites that will send us screenings, as well as our mobile truck that goes to 3 different states. And then we work up all of the diagnostics here at the breast center. My role as the quality manager has been to implement and perfect equip, and I'm really excited for Volpara and as more and more evolves, because it is making my life a little bit easier.
Great. Thank you so much. You are a very busy site, especially with diagnostic. Do you perform any screening mammography at your facility?
We've really tried to limit the amount of screenings we're doing in our building, just because we're trying to get more diagnostics in. We will do a few screenings earlier in the morning and later in the afternoon. We will do some screenings for patients that maybe are seeing an oncologist in our building. Our building is unique. We are actually located in our cancer center.
Okay.
So we have our breast surgeons who are down the hall from us. And then we have oncologists in our building. We have radiation oncology, PET CT in our building. And then we also have genetic counselors here. So our patients, some of our patients will be coming in like for yearly follow-up for breast cancer diagnosis. Some of our patients are seeing a survivorship in a survivorship clinic down in our oncology. So we do see a wide variety of patients here. So we don't do very many screenings in our building currently. We're doing about 3,800 diagnostics a year, 27,000 procedures a year, which includes our screenings, diagnostics, biopsies. We are very busy with contrast enhanced mammography. We do about 1,200 of those a year. We also have 3 ultrasound units in our breast center that we are keeping busy. MRI, we do breast MRI, but not in our building. We do that in a different building. But we are also doing workups post MRI. We do some MRI biopsy. Our breast surgeons in our clinic that's just down the hall from us, they run a high risk clinic over there. So they are doing between the 2 surgeons and the 2 APPs. We also have 3 genetic counselors that we're also running a high-risk breast screening program with too. That's why our CESM numbers are really, really high, because they will alternate diagnostic mammo with CESM. We currently have about 18 technologists that work in our facility. We rotate through a couple different areas. 16 radiologists that read for 14 different sites. So as you can tell, equip is a large undertaking. It takes a lot of my time.
Yes, and speaking of your time, that's a lot to handle. I think some of the some of the people who have called in for this webinar are probably in very similar shoes. 18 technologists, multiple sites, multiple radiologists. You have 16 that read for 14 different sites. That is a lot to handle with MQSA and with Equip. So, what is your role in Equip compliance? And do you do that for your breast center, or are you also involved with the network or the other satellite offices?
Both. So I do equip for all of the sites that we read for. I will do our rad tech reviews for our sites. And then plus I'm doing it for our site as well. Right now, currently, it is still somewhat of a manual process for my rad to tech review. I'm waiting for that interface to come interface to come through to help me out. But I spend probably on average maybe 3 hours a week just managing equip within my facility and then with the outside facilities that we read for.
Great. Well, thank you for that insight and background on Avera Breast Center. I really appreciate that. So I'm excited to introduce Christy Smith and ProMedica Breast Care. So welcome, Christy. While you and I haven't had the pleasure of working together, I think you're going to bring some really fresh perspective to this discussion. As I understand, you're taking over responsibility for Equip at your center.
I
Can you
am.
introduce ProMedica and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so ProMedica Breast Care is located in Toledo, Ohio. I have about 33 MAM techs that I'm the leader for. And I recently, like you said, have only been on this job like by myself for about 5 weeks. So I'm a newbie to it. And I took over for Linda, who has 40 plus years of experience. But for my luck, she has stayed on part time, so I still get to
Nice.
bother her. With questions when she's here the 2 days that she works for us. So we average here at the breast care center about 20,000 or so, and that includes mammograms, screening, diagnostic, our breast MRI, ultrasound, and we also do molecular breast imaging here. We have 12 radiologists, 4 who are fellowship trained that work exclusively here at the breast care center. We have 5 other just screening sites that where their screening mammograms are sent here. So our radiologists read for here at the breast care center and then 5 other sites. So that's it for ProMedica. We're pretty busy here. We're probably between us and we have another. We're probably one of the largest breast care centers here in our area. So.
Wow, another busy site. A lot on your plate, I'm sure.
Yes.
So what is your role with Equip compliance? Do you do that at your specific breast center, or are you involved with those other satellite offices as well?
For all of that. Well, let me take that back. We have 2 other hospitals. Their screenings get here to be read, but we have 2 lead techs over at those hospitals that do their Equip themselves. But I am in charge of the ProMedica Breast Care and 3 other sites. So I have the 33 technologists to take care of, and then the 12 radiologists as well.
That's a lot of work, a lot of responsibility.
Yes.
Thank you, Christy.
Thank you.
An exciting place. It seems like an exciting place to work.
Yes.
So we're going to move into taking a deeper look into Avera's Equip process, kind of where it started, where it is now, and what the future is going to look like. I know that Rhonda and I talk about the future, and we're very excited about new things coming. So Rhonda, can you walk us through what your process initially was?
Yeah, and actually it kind of I still do a lot of this process right now. Right now I am placing cards, not me, my file room, thank goodness, is placing cards on cases that are coming in, screeners that are coming in from our outside sites, as well as some of our sites here that are in Sioux Falls, and they're putting cards on for me at least once a week, usually once or twice a week. We're putting cards on all of these images. The radiologists are, marking good exam, needs improvement, or needs a repeat. Then those cards will come back to me, and I'm actually right now putting everything in a spreadsheet, and then I'll send the outside sites their cards at the end of the month. Our lead, I have 2 lead QC techs that we're doing monthly QA on the technologists. So they were randomly picking a case, and then they themselves were doing like a peer review on them. And that was just for our 18 technologists here. And because we rotate through so many different areas, it was quite a process for them to identify all of the sites that we rotate through, trying to find an exam, and then basically critiquing the exam themselves. So when you guys introduced our this manual process that now we get every month, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to come up with the correct verbiage on it. That has
the
eliminated.
tech image review where we
Yes,
could
the
go in and
tech image
schedule
review.
those. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Now that comes to my lead techs automatically now, and they do not have to do anything manually. So they are just giving that out to our technologists, and then the technologists are logging into Volpara and taking a look at their report.
And as we talk forward, let's see. So, as I've worked with thank you for sharing that, by the way. I think that when you start with the manual process and then you're able to get some processes that are automated, it can really help. Do you feel like it was a big time saver for you?
Yes,
Getting those
absolutely.
reports?
Yes, absolutely. Just because a lot of times as just human, we're going to pick maybe a good exam always, because you don't it's just, you don't want to
It's
give.
subjective, right? We
It's
want to
subjective.
be
Yeah.
able to
Yeah.
review those images for the technologists and hope that
Yes.
they're a good review.
And hope they're a good review. And it very time consuming, because we would manually look to see if the compression was consistent on all of the images. We would manually look to see if P&L measured all the way down, and now Volpara does that for us, and it gives us our PGMI scores for all of that. And I would say definitely for my 2 lead QA techs that were doing that manually, yes, that has been a huge time saver for them. So instead of taking maybe 2 days, it's probably maybe taking maybe an hour and a half to print them out and give them to the technologists. I'm looking
Good.
forward to the future when I can just do my rad to rad review, and once we integrate, and life will be grand.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to that as well. And we've got lots of steps forward going on. I did want to just loop back on one of the other processes that the guests might be interested in as well. Earlier, you said you had marked some of those cards that came in. Was that for corrective action, or was that the periodic interpreting physician review? Or a
A
little bit of
little of
both?
both.
Okay.
I will say it's a little of both. We also were able to identify some positioning issues early on. We've never had a really great way to give feedback to the technologists in the outside sites. The radiologist would maybe bring, in the past, they would bring in a case back to me, and then I would call the imaging sites and say, hey, you need to do a repeat on Sally, there's deodorant, or you're missing lateral tissue on your CC. And these cards have helped in that, because now the radiologist, if they want to repeat, they'll fill out the card and it will hand it back, and the technologist can call the outside sites to let them know. And plus then the outside sites will know what they have to repeat and why. But we did identify some positioning issues that we had with a few of our outside sites right shortly after we did initiate equip. And so we were able to get them some additional training. And so, yeah, it kind of did a little of both. It did some of the corrective action for them. And also it was a learning curve for us as well, because I learned that I have some radiologists that were just marking good exam for everything. And then ACR comes around and does spot inspections. And then when we had 2 sites fail for positioning. And so it really kind of opened our eyes to our process. And so like I said, equip has been good, even though it's been time consuming. We've identified some problems positioning wise, and then also with our interpreting physicians.
Well, that's excellent. And that's really, I think, as we circle back to the intent of equip, is to identify areas of improvement. And so, Erica, if you'll go to the slide that says AI for image quality assessment. So Rhonda, real quick, I did want to just kind of see what you think about with Volpara, with image quality assessment. Has this been supporting your efforts in Equip when you have identified images or technologists who do need some additional work?
Yes. I struggle myself personally. This has been kind of a learning experience for me as well, because I guess I didn't realize how much I struggled with my IMF.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of like blaring right in your face. It's like, wow, yeah, I got to do something about my IMF. We have other technologists that struggle with, getting the nipple in the center. So sometimes they're maybe pulling too much lateral tissue,
Yes.
or not, or maybe they're pulling too much medial tissue. So what has been great about this is it identifies our weak areas. And then your videos, I actually was walking through the department yesterday and I saw one of our technologists watching one of the Louise Miller videos. And it's been great compression, I think, too. As a technologist, I will look at my compression, but probably never really like, oh, I always kind of like, hey, the breast feels taut. I think this has also helped us identify maybe some areas that we should be compressing maybe more, and those areas that maybe we should be compressing less. So I feel like our compression is kind of leveled out.
Good.
Yeah.
That's really good. I think that what Volpara does provide is that objective feedback. And I'm in the same boat as you were, Rhonda. I didn't know that I needed to really work on my IMF as much as I needed to, as well as compression. I think that objective feedback can be so important, but sometimes this feedback can be easily accepted by staff. They want to see how they're doing. I think both of us are like that as mammographers. We want to see how we're doing. But other times staff can be a little bit defensive or a little weary of that feedback.
Yes.
How has your staff received that objective feedback?
I believe that now that Volpara is providing the feedback, it's maybe going to be perceived a little bit probably better for a technologist, instead of maybe somebody like, wow, Rhonda always picks on my images, or she never picks a good image for me when she does my monthly QA. I think this will be just a level, the computer is not going to lie, kind of levels that playing field, and it kind of takes the personal side out of it, because now they're going to be like, well, maybe Rhonda wasn't wrong all those years. Maybe I do need to do some work on my compression, or maybe I do need to do some work on my IMF. I believe that it's just going to take some of that, like I said, it's going to depersonalize it maybe a little bit, and maybe they're not going to feel like we're always picking a bad exam, or always, picking an exam that we can pick it apart.
Yeah, it definitely takes that personal piece out of it when it's just subjective. Now, we did touch on corrective action. I think you have a great process with this. I know that you also use Aspen Breast. So do you use this feedback loop process in Aspen as well?
No, we do not. I don't think we have that integration just yet, but I can't wait.
Good.
Once again, I can't wait.
Good. Well, after this call, we will definitely circle back on corrective action in Aspen.
Yes, perfect.
Good. So Erica, next slide. So I just wanted to be able to show a little bit of this. We mentioned that technologist image review summary. This is that easy report to show to inspectors where it randomly selects those studies and it fills in for you the compression and positioning. It pre-populates it. So it's very easy to just have these ready. In fact, we can set them up on a schedule. I know they're relatively new. Have you had an inspection since you've had these summaries?
We have not. I believe we normally would have our inspection here in February, but I believe we're pushed out because of COVID. So we probably will have our inspection in May, which I think will be nice because we'll have probably a good 5 months under our belts with these. So I will definitely give you some feedback once I hear from my inspector.
Great, looking forward to that. And so this slide really represents the ability to go in and schedule it. You can set your parameters and then kind of set it and forget it. And then we notify you when those reports are ready. So I am excited to get your feedback after your inspection.
Absolutely.
Yes. So Rhonda, how do you use enterprise or analytics for question one? And I think that we really talked about that corrective action and really focused on that just a bit ago. But do you ever drive your technologists back into enterprise to kind of close that loop?
Yes. So when we give them their, even before we started using the individual the reports that you guys would run, when we would do our monthly QA, we would part of that would be for them to go in to enterprise and look at their scorecard, give us feedback on their scorecard. So it really has forced them to take the time to get into enterprise and really navigate around.
That's great. That's great.
Yes.
So there we go. Thank you. So it goes into quality control oversight. Of course, this is also part of EQIP. How do you address question 3, which is that quality control oversight?
Well, I can't even read this here. Sorry.
It's of QA, QC, and corrective action process. Just so that you know, Volpara does offer this easy sign-off sheet. And we have other templates as well that can help with the EQIP process and any of the questions 1, 2, and 3 from EQIP.
Yes, you know what? I do use this. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's
I was a
okay.
little distracted. Yes, I do
get it.
print this off. And so when my radiologist does look at my equip, he will sign off on this. And then for our 3 sites that we have identified with the ACR.
Excellent. And I think I know, of course, the answer to this question, but I will, of course, want you to share this is what additional ways do you hope to improve your EQIP process?
Yeah, I definitely think that once we get integrated, my life will be a little bit easier as far as Aspen. We're really hoping that once we integrate Aspen with, we're getting a new PACS as well, the radiologist will be able to just go in and manually do some of this as well in Aspen. Then hopefully, it will flow over and everything will talk with Volpara and things, life will be great. And then my rad to rad review, I think right now is probably my biggest undertaking. It takes a lot of time. It's all manual. And once that integration comes, I'm anticipating my time to be probably cut by 75%. So that's what I'm really looking forward to in the future, is that integration.
Yes, I have to agree. I'm very excited about the whole platform and integrating together.
Yes.
So thank you very much for sharing all of your information on how things worked before Volpara, how they're working now, and kind of how we're hoping to see things change and evolve and continuing to be more efficient for you. So thank you.
You bet.
So now I'd like to go ahead and learn more about ProMedica breast care, really kind of passing the torch. And so I'd like to go ahead and chat with Christy. You know, ProMedica has had a strong quality culture. Can you share your experience as a technologist in the equip process before you stepped into your new role?
Um, I I wasn't really part of the process, I guess.
Okay.
Just as a technologist, she would go over the things with us, but she did so much background things in the background that we weren't privy to. Um, I mean, I got the feedback and all of that, but it was almost like we were detached from it. This the things that she did in the background to get us to where we needed to be for her equip process. Is that
Yeah, no, I think that's very
okay?
common. You know, as
Okay,
technologists, if we're not in that role, we don't always know the depth and breadth of work that is done by the
exactly.
QA or lead tech who
Right,
takes on equip. As you
right,
said, you just were given what you had to know from your piece
right,
and your technologist perspective. Um,
right.
so, how did you feel about taking on a leadership role, moving into equip?
Scary.
Yes.
With Linda being here for 40 plus years, she made this breast care center what it is. She started everything from the ground up. So um, filling her shoes is difficult. I'll never be able to fill them. Um, but she did everything, and she set a very good example. She has everything set up for me, so it's just putting my little tweak on it and finding out what I can do, not so much do better, but make a little bit more automated, to make it a little bit more efficient, because like Rhonda said, it's very time consuming. So um,
Well,
watching, because I was sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, well, with a fresh set of eyes, sometimes you're
Yeah,
able to see a really well-oiled process, but then being
yes,
able to make those tweaks, those improvements, really some opportunities for efficiencies.
exactly.
Uh,
Yes.
so how were you onboarded into this role?
So they followed her recommendation as far as hiring someone, because we were gonna be going for ACR accreditation. So
Mhm.
she said, get somebody in here. We need to do this early so that they can be with me when I do the ACR. And then also MQSA followed that. So they followed that recommendation. So I was with her probably about a year. Just shadowing her, trying to learn everything that she knew, which I didn't do, but I try. Um, so I was able to sit with her for the ACR accreditations and learn that process, and then also the MQSA process and the
Yeah,
equip and everything else that goes with that.
yes, especially for such a busy center as yours, I can
Yes,
imagine that is, a big task. Were there
yes.
any parts that were really eye-opening for you walking into this role from the technologist into working with the equip process
Yes,
and MQSA?
yes. Like we spoke about, knowing everything that she did prior to getting to the technologist, everything that goes into the accreditation process and the equip process, and just day-to-day stuff and the reporting. And you never know what she did in her office. I mean, you never knew that, like you said, the depth of everything that we do in this, with equip and everything. So that was the eye-opening, knowing everything that went into it.
Exactly. I think the whole, depth and breadth of it.
Yeah.
So, Christy, many joining us today may see the management of Equip as this opportunity for them in the future, or
Yes.
may need to be prepared to hand off responsibility to someone else. Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah. Linda actually just told me this a couple days ago. She said, I didn't learn everything in 2 days, and you won't either. So that's what I'm going to go with.
I love that.
Yeah. Because it seems
Right.
like whenever she comes back, I have a list of questions. so that I can ask her the next week, what about this, Linda? What about that? And so that's, you're not gonna learn everything in 2 days. So that was her advice, and I liked it.
That's, that is excellent.
Yeah.
So if a technologist was interested in learning more about this role, how could they seek opportunities to get involved in their center? Do you have any recommendations for techs who maybe want to be involved?
Yeah. Just ask questions. And I always, like, coming into this role, I knew that I wanted to be open with the techs, have a good communication with them. And I always tell them, don't hesitate to ask. And they've all been very understanding of me navigating this role, because it is a lot. And there are things that I want to try to give them more feedback as in a more timely manner. So I always tell them, do not hesitate to ask questions, and that would be it. Ask questions and see, ask them, what can I do for you? Is there anything I can help you with? And that would be it.
That's great advice. Great advice. So we're going to conclude this. Oh yes, the session with advice and lessons learned from Christy and Rhonda, really discussing a little bit of best practices. So since Equip launched in 2017, these have been reported as the most common deficiencies in inspections. As we can see, the different questions, the 1, 2, and 3, and where those deficiencies came from. So Rhonda, how has your inspection feedback changed since you transformed to a more automated process?
Sorry, I'm here. I just couldn't get back unmuted.
It's okay.
It's been better because prior I wasn't, when I was sending my spreadsheets and when I was sending the cards, I wasn't putting the date that the physicians were maybe interpreting the mammograms, or the date. It was maybe more so the date that they were inspected. And one of our sites that we read for from Minnesota, the inspector was very specific, and they wanted to know date that the radiologist looked at the images, date of exam. And now that it's a little bit more automated, all of that is just going to print right out for us. So that's going to kind of take some of that away.
Nice. Yeah, it's nice to kind of have that streamlined, especially those little minute details that we can get dinged for. So Christy, in the inspection that you went through this fall, what surprised you about the inspector's approach or their feedback?
Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
We've had nothing really. We've had the same inspector for a long time. And I didn't have any surprises in what she was saying. Like, we had a good, I don't know how to answer that question. We had a good inspection. So
yeah, I think that oh, good. That's good. I think there's a lot of benefit of having the same inspector come year after year. They come into your site. They are familiar with your process, how you keep your books and binders, and it can be a real benefit, I'm sure, for them as well, but really for us as a breast center to have the same inspector.
Yeah, and with Linda, I mean, they've been doing it together for 20 years. So they had a relationship too, and hopefully I'll have the same. Hopefully Cindy will be coming back for one more time. So Linda told me, this is how she likes it, and this is how you keep it. So
yes, we usually try to tailor our books, our documentation to the inspector's liking.
Yes.
That is for sure.
Yes. But I will the Volpara seeing how she did it before with Equip, having like the manual process. That's made it a lot easier.
Good.
Having it automated.
It sure makes it easier for you, that's for sure.
Yes.
So going back to the intent of equip, which we can all support, ensuring that continuous quality to deliver the best care for women. So I'm going to ask Christy and Rhonda to comment on what the process should look like. Maybe share with us how close they feel that their centers are to this, but what progress still needs to be made. So Rhonda, do you want to comment on how you'd like this process to look?
Yeah, I guess I don't maybe want to, I'm probably not going to comment so much on how the process is going to look. What I'm really, and maybe this is kind of outside of where I should be speaking, but what I'm really looking forward to is as more sites that we read for come in on Volpara, what I'm really looking forward to is instant feedback for them. So they're not having to wait for me to give them the feedback from their cards. I know we're bringing on a few sites that will be able to go in and look at their equip information daily instead of, like I said, me going in to do it monthly. And I kind of even think the same with the technologists.
Yep.
They should be looking at this daily. They shouldn't be waiting for me or for one of my lead techs to give them a report of their images. I feel like as we're moving forward, my goal is that my technologists are logging into Volpara daily. They are looking at their own images, and as well as some of my outside sites that are going to come into Volpara under us. I'm really excited for them as they're going to get that instant feedback.
Yes.
So that's what I'm really looking forward to. I don't know if that really answers your question and how you want me to answer it, but
No, that's great. It's great.
um,
Being
my
able to put
goal
that
is
back
really,
onto the other departments and
yes,
to the technologists to really
yes,
take control of their quality. I love it.
yes. It should be them taking control of their own quality themselves. So like I said, getting them to log in daily or at least once a week is what I feel like should be happening. We're busy. I mean, and I get it, but it is about quality. And my outside sites, I'm really looking forward to and hoping that a lot of them can get in because we don't want to fail a spot ACR inspection. I don't want any of my sites to fail a spot ACR inspection. And I'm really hoping that in the future, Volpara will help these sites so they don't fail these spot inspections.
That's great. Thank you for that insight. Christy, do you have anything that you'd like to add to how you'd like to see this process look?
No, I liked what Rhonda said, that the technologists take control of the quality of work that they're putting out there. I agree with her.
Yeah, I do too, especially with a
What is
tool
it?
like this, Volpara is really, I think, as I talk to technologists coming on board, you can really use that as your personal coach. It's your own, quality review feedback, and there's so many tips and tools in there to use. So thank you both, Rhonda and Christy, for the webinar today. I'd like to open it up to any questions or comments to anyone else who's joined the webinar.
You should feel free to take yourself off of mute, and you can ask a question of Christy, Rhonda, or Jen. I do have one that came in over the course of the discussion, asking if we could share some of the hard copy templates that complement the software that have been useful. And we will send out an email with some of those sample templates that do not rely on the software to be generated, but that you could use as a guide for anyone who's still working on the manual process. So yes, we'll be sharing those after.
I just wanted to add to that, Erica, that there is myself, Jennifer Cantu, and Jennifer Grotzinger. You are more than happy to reach out to either one of us, and we can go through. We have an equip documentation that has a lot of those templates, and we're happy to review the process with you as well.
And I will contest that Jennifer has been very, very, very patient with me. I have to email her a lot. It's a learning curve. It's a learning curve for me as the quality manager. It's a learning curve to get in there, and it can do so much more than equip. And just lean on Jen and Jennifer, because they are experts, and they like I said, Jen has been wonderful. I can ask her a stupid question, and she doesn't make me feel like I've not asked that question 15 times before.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I did want to add, we have a new customer success team member. Her name is Tara Botchin, and she may be one of your customer success team representatives as well. So don't forget, I just want to make sure that I introduce that Tara has also joined our team. So the three of us, we are here to, offer any of those equip guidances. So
And I'll
Erica, you
give
said,
it.
oh, go ahead.
Can I give a shout out to Jennifer? She was,
Yes.
she's been great. She's been training me a couple times, so just want to thank her. And again, like Rhonda said, you can ask you guys stupid questions, and you don't make us feel stupid.
Never, never. We've been in your shoes. We've asked lots of questions, lots of questions. Erica, did you say you had another question that came in from the team? Oh, I'm not sure where Erica has gone. So if you want to unmute, if you have a question, happy to take that. If not, I'm sure that Erica will be getting all of that information back to you. And then feel free to reach out to your customer success team, applications person. We're always here to help support you through this. So I just wanted to thank everyone and thank the panelists for joining today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I hope everyone has a great day and enjoys their afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Rhonda.